on Twitter, I have certain words and phrases muted so that I don't get to see them in my timeline. Several of which are combinations of Elon and Musk. I'm forced to hear about him every week, partly because of Mike's selection of story. We're going to talk about him and his views on working at home on today's Not So Critical update.
That was an excellent introduction, Peter. And I just want to let everyone know it took like 5 tries to get there. At any rate.
Stop it, man. You're going to make me cry.
See, there we
This
go.
is terrible. They are taking the piss out of me constantly before the show because I can't read the big not recording sign. So
but it's so big. It's like it covers half of the screen.
Not recording.
We'll show. I'll show it now. I'll show it here. They'll see it. At any rate, the article is Elon Musk said working from home during the pandemic has tricked people into thinking they don't need to work hard.
He just says inflammatory stuff all the time and just doesn't like, oh, whatever.
I don't think.
Well, I think this comes from a control, like a place of control.
Yeah, he's not just saying it to be provocative.
Yeah, it's because of the 3 or 4 businesses that he's at the helm at, and he wants everyone to be at maximum output, whatever he deems that might be, and that I guess also means sitting in this place that he purchased and paid a bunch of money for.
Yeah,
that's his view of working hard. It's waking up at 6 instead of at 8 to make your 2-hour commute to the fucking SpaceX lab or whatever. No, just dead wrong.
The mythology of Elon is that he's this workaholic who will sleep under his desk during projects, and that's what he expects from his employees because he's driven like Steve Jobs, I guess.
But it doesn't even, I feel like that doesn't even hold true, right? Because he like bought all of these companies. He didn't like make anything. And sure, he might have like driven them into success, but like Teslas are catching fire everywhere. I don't know. It just feels like I definitely don't. You should get a Lucid. You should get a competitor to Tesla to drive the competition.
That's a good
drive
idea.
The market as a whole. I know, I'm so smart.
It's good marketing because I wouldn't even have thought of a Tesla alternative. I just would have bought a Tesla.
Well, then you should look into Lucid Motors, which are like the best electric car ever and don't break.
Really?
And stuff. Yeah.
But are they self-driving? Should I look them up now while we're on the show?
No, let's
okay.
I know
okay, we can stay focused. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway. So I saw this thread. I'm going to take over here for a second. I saw this post on Reddit as well. And I like quickly clicked into the comments. And like one of the first posts was like the most upvoted on Reddit was like, or comments, I should say, was like this person talking about their fairly large team and how their output has like quadrupled or something ever since they've been working from home for like 3 years or 2 years or whatever. Basically saying like right off the bat, it's not that simple. You cannot make it black and white. It's all about leadership and the obviously individuals who are participating in work from home and a bunch of other factors that you cannot just take and throw into one box and then the other into the other box.
And they do talk about that in the article. To start with Elon, so a letter had gone out and he didn't acknowledge the letter, but he sent a tweet kind of referencing the letter. And he said, anyone who wishes to do remote work for a minimum, and I mean minimum of 40 hours per week at Tesla. Anyone who wishes to do remote work for a minimum of 40 hours per week at Tesla. I don't totally understand that. They should pretend to work someplace else. The letter I saw said that they have to be in the office. Commented on.
Well, he said here, anyone who wishes to do remote work for minimum, and I mean minimum of 40 hours per week, like that's what he wants them to do.
Right.
Or you need to depart Tesla.
Yeah, but then in the actual letter, I thought it said that working from home wasn't an option. You had to be in the office for 40 hours. And not only did you have to be in the office for 40 hours, you had to be at your correct building. So if you were the head of one building, you couldn't be out of state someplace else doing the same work. So I should have had that letter up.
It's so funny because the 40-hour thing, like we've talked about this, I believe at length, like this man is saying you need to, and it's funny because another quote is you need to go pretend to work at a different company somewhere else.
Yeah.
But like what you're saying is then, Elon, is you want people to go to Tesla and pretend to work because that's what they'll do. They'll busy work. They'll find bullshit to not actually work because that's humanity. That's what everyone do.
So if we look at the actual evidence, most evidence shows that productivity has increased while people stayed at home. People spent less time commuting, so could use some of that time at work. They also got to spend more time with their family and sleeping, which meant that they were happier and ended up being more productive.
Yep.
In many economies, working from home meant people worked longer hours. I think that's probably true for me. Cutting out commuting was a bonus to worker productivity, and the added work from home time led to fewer hours spent in pointless meeting. Absolutely true. And they point out time spent in the office is not the same as time spent working.
Yeah.
There were a couple downsides, though. They also point out that a similar study in Japan to what we've seen in the US and UK about increased productivity from working home actually shows that workers reported lower productivity working from home in Japan. Don't know why that is. They didn't speculate that in the article. And that occasionally productivity dipped in some cases. Specifically, they cite parents who were stuck at home with their kids and their attention could be split between work and childcare.
Yeah, I've tried working at home lots of times before, and I've always found it terrible. Until my current job. And this started before the pandemic, not very long before, but I started full-time remote work before the pandemic, and it just worked. And I've thought a lot about why it worked this time around. So I think the first time I really worked at home was when I had a startup and we were working out of my flat and we had the servers there and everything. And I was always looking for reasons to leave. I hated it. It was working way too much. And it was very stressful. I didn't hate it, actually. It was a lot of fun running a startup. And then ever since then, every time I've worked at home, it would been like, I don't know. I think the real reason was because I worked for companies that had offices. And so it felt like I was kind of slacking, like I should have been in the office kind of thing. But when I started working for somewhere where it was remote first, like there was no office to go to, I just was a mental shift. I was like, oh, okay, well,
this is acceptable.
This is it. Everybody's doing this. Isn't just some like special situation. I think maybe that's the difference with Japanese people. I don't know. I'm really that's a huge guess to be making on the fly for an entire nation. But
a nation that has been studied and the work ethic there.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't know if we should call it high or low because of the way they really work them to the bone.
Let's call this the Lowe conjecture. I like that.
Lowe said. I think there are definitely problems with the hybrid model. I worked at a company that was fully remote, and then the CEO wanted to start bringing people into an office, but only people who were local to the office. And that created weird divisions within the company, and people who were there got different, just access to information, treatment aside, than people who weren't there. It was a very awkward situation. For me personally, though, I've gone back and forth. I've worked from home since before it was cool. I really like it. But at the same time, I probably personally do a little bit better in a more structured environment. So I definitely see some benefit to going, if nothing else, even to like a shared workspace, just to have that.
Well, that's the point, isn't it?
It's the freedom to choose.
It's not just one or the other. Is always better, always worse for everybody. It's some are better for some people, others is better for others, and hybrid is better for others. And it's just the focus should be on what works. What do you get results out of? Yeah. Also, by the way, I'm really fucking tired of talking about Musk. It's just so.
Well, I like that we hijacked the conversation of talking about remote work.
Invasiveness into my consciousness.
That's what this is
about. My first exposure to remote work was at a managed service provider. I worked 3 days of staff in the heart of San Francisco, pretty much, and 2 days was from home. And it was such a polar opposite because the commute was an hour and a half each way, sometimes 2 hours, depending on traffic. So you get up 6 a.m., get to work, get home 7, maybe 8 p.m. So you're now on a 12-hour run, and you're in uncomfortable, nice-looking clothes and shoes, and you can't drink your coffee. You're drinking the office coffee, and it's a bunch of like, I don't want to call it anxieties, but it's like I feel very looked at and judged in an office. And of course, it's probably not the case. This is just my perception of
no, it's definitely the case.
Yeah.
It's 100% is the case.
Because it's
But
about
then-
control and supervision.
Right. And then I get home and I get to do those 2 days, and it's like freedom. My day, I just instantly I get saved 5 hours, like that weren't even paid out, right? Like these were 5 hours that I was spending getting ready, driving, whatever. And it kind of gave me a real taste of what life could be like. And then my next job, I seeked full-time remote, which I got before COVID. And that was life-changing.
Yeah,
and
full-time
I'm
remote
never
is
going
awesome.
back to it. I'm never going back to an office unless it's like life or death. Like I have to.
Yep. I think the other thing to touch on in the context of work reform is we did a story probably last week about coddled and rebellious employees complaining about being called back into the office. And this article is largely balanced, but where's the headline that says entitled micromanaging prick demands employees be as unhappy as he is? Like, let's have some balance here.
You. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
I love that. Please
a
write that
headline.
article. That's amazing.
That's our headline.
That's a. I bet you anything the Onion have done something along those lines.
It shouldn't be the Onion though. I mean, that's if it's on the employee side, it's critical and dismissive, and if it's the employers, it should be, I mean, worse for the employers. Work reform is the way to go.
Agreed.
Burn it all down. Capitalism has failed us.
Disagree.
I'm just going to end it before you say that.